Previously on El Viaje. We now had about 3,000 miles in the rear view, and it hadn't even been a month. As the Baja leg came to an end, we were feeling spoiled with what was about to be our full month van lifing. Spoiled like if In-N-Out was the first time you ever experienced fast food, minus the lines. How could you get better than that? Well, it was time to find out. It was time to immerse ourselves in the rest of Mexico's metaphorical drive-thrus, which meant taking a ferry from La Paz to Mazatlán, aka our gateway to the Mexican mainland. Welcome to El Viaje, Chapter 6, Mexican Mainland. About to hop on this boat right here in the van. Hank and I have a cabin, which will be nice, so if he's making any messes, it'll be contained. So yeah, Mazatlán, here we come. Hour 2 at the ferry, or hour 2 being in line to get into the ferry, onto the ferry. I see it, I'm looking at it. I hope they have a shower. It looks like they have all the semis go first and back in. I don't know if you can see that. And then I think, oh, we're moving. Amazing. All right, I should focus. So a quick tour of the ferry room I got. We got bunk beds. Not one set of bunk beds, but two. So a little lavish for a guy and a dog, and this is the best part. Get to take a freaking shower today. So that is amazing. Maybe watch some TV. And they also supplied pee pads for Hank. So that was a big concern that I had. I brought some towels as emergency, but that is very, very cool news. So can settle in, and I think there's a bar here, so probably have a drink, watch sunset. So not tired at all, I headed to top Baja Ferry's upper deck for an Indio and a sunset. The next morning started out strong with no Hank potties in the room and the muy tranquilo vibe up in the top deck. "14 hours and 300 nautical miles later, we had reached Mazatlán. Here, our main mission was to find a sports bar to watch the Super Bowl near the hotel we were staying at for the night. That night, my sports heart was able to heal a bit as the Seattle Seahawks avenged a previously heartbreaking Super Bowl loss, and arguably as badass an experience was being able to witness Bad Bunny's halftime performance with the Latina community. But that next morning, I woke up to reality. Okay, so wrestled with including this in the video or not. I do want to show everything, and so I am going to show it. Why I was hesitant is because I already think so many people have the wrong idea about how dangerous Mexico is. And I can say with complete honesty that my biggest fear remains seeing a tope/speed bump a little too late. At this point in the trip, my van back doors didn't lock, and as you can see, some stuff got taken out of it. He accidentally left his red shirt, so thank you for that, but stole a battery, which sucked, and my levelers, which sucked worse because I don't know if you guys have ever slept with your feet above your head, but that is pretty uncomfortable. So that was honestly the worst part. But moral of the story is, shame on Daniel for not securing the vehicle. Also, with how heavy the battery was, hopefully this guy bicycled right into a ditch. Here I am, post Mazatlán, on the way to Nayarit, which is neighboring state to Sinaloa, being kind of whiny, so I really don't want you guys to hear the audio, but essentially recounting how the Starlink cable was sticking out of the back of the van, and there was a red t-shirt in there, and honestly, it was a pretty uncomfortable feeling, being in real Mexico, where my gringo ass definitely feels different. My Spanish, not where you'd like it to be. And so there was a moment of feeling of isolation. But that being said, what I needed to do is just have a day and wake up to a new one at this point, and quit my bitchin'. Lame, but onward and upward. Nayarit is a state where the jungle meets the coast. There were jaguar signs on the drive, apparently an endangered species in the area, and this was looking like the perfect place to flip that frown upside down. On the way to San Blas this day, took a little detour and bought some kickboards that were going to serve as levelers, which meant I was going to sleep well. And what's better than sleeping well? Well, maybe sunrises like this. We were now firmly in upward territory, in the onward and upward ethos, and we needed to celebrate with some tequila. If only there was a place to do so. Next stop, Tequila. Located in the state of Jalisco, tequila is kind of like champagne, where tequila needs to be from tequila to be called tequila. If not, the correct term is sparkling hangover. Ignoring a little buffoonery right here, we were headed to Casa Punchual, where Jose has a tequila plantation that also welcomes overlanders. While Hank introduced himself to the new neighbors, I too was about to make some friends. Here at Jose's family-run Casa Punchual, you're encouraged to immerse yourself in the craft of tequila. Here you can wander the farmland and visit with some of the locals. We also visited the distillery, getting an inside look at the tequila making process. After that, we walked the agave fields and learned how obsidian and volcanoes are linked with the history of tequila. And what tour would be complete without a tasting? And this one, we learned how to drink tequila like adults. You don't shoot it. The best part of the day, though, by far, was meeting these two couples. Tom and Carl from Austria heading to Panama, and Tom and Nadine from Germany heading to Patagonia. One magical thing that was starting to show itself was how quickly bonds can be formed on the road. And nowadays, if I'm drinking tequila, I often think about this day and these people. And if you're interested in seeing people living their lives to the fullest, make sure to follow them. After Tequila, we decided to almost go to Guadalajara. First, Hank needed some time to do dog things, so we decided to go to Parque La Primavera. And we were literally the only ones there. After our camp sesh, we made our way to Guadalajara, the second largest city in Mexico. A city I instantly fell in love with. You will see no evidence of that here because apparently I don't realize that I'm making YouTubes. So for 2 nights I stayed at a hotel. Highlights included the city's energy, the food, and hanging out with my new friend Noemi, where we spoke almost entirely through Google Translate. The visual evidence I have for Guadalajara include unsuccessfully looking for levelers, getting myself stuck in the Walmart parking lot because I don't know what I'm doing, and seeing Hank's age really start to show itself. Amigo, wellness check. Sorry for waking you. After my award-winning content capture performance in Guadalajara, it was time to leave Jalisco and head to our 6th Mexican state of the journey, Michoacán, and check out Volcan Paricutín, which you guys are going to like. When you're driving around Mexico, there are 2 rules that you hear over and over again. One is don't drive at night, and the other is to try to stick to the toll roads. Well, where I was going didn't have toll roads, and I couldn't have been happier. A drive that took longer than I thought, I think it ended up taking 7 hours in total, felt like 2, was the stimulation of newness at every corner. Which brings me to my absolute favorite part of the drive. As we drove towards soft grass for Hank to play in, I began to realize that today was kind of the first real day of the journey. Driving through the beautiful pueblos, the peaceful countryside, and knowing that the closest gringo was probably 2 hours away made everything start feeling real, feeling right. After a full day of driving and thankfully not being a centimeter taller, we had made it to Angahuan. which I'm sure I'm saying incorrectly, which is the home of Paricutín. After catching the sunset at the Centro Turístico, where we were staying, we began to get settled in for the night. Before heading to bed, I popped out to see how the stars were looking. And then something interesting happened. So honestly, don't know if I'm connecting two dots that don't belong connected. But regardless, I felt honored to have been able to listen in. The next day I hiked down to see one of the areas affected by the volcano and met some really cool dogs on the way. After the eruption of Paricutín, only one structure remained. A monument and reminder of a world that existed before tragedy and destruction. And holy symbolism. What do you see? Do you see the capacity of nature's raw power and our inability to control it? Or maybe you see this through a religious lens, that faith endures over chaos? Or do you see this as a symbol for resilience, that through trauma, there are still parts of us that will never die? As I wandered the ruins of Paricutín, I was feeling introspective. I thought about Hank, who was unable to take the short hike as he was now struggling to walk, ruminating over the fact that nature always wins, and wondering how long I had left with him before nature ultimately took its course. I took a small amount of peace looking at the iglesia, church, surrounded by lava, knowing that whenever that did happen, a part of him would always remain with me. I only hoped that those final breaths lay dormant a little longer. This concludes Chapter 6 of El Viaje, Mexican Mainland. Thanks you guys for not only watching, but watching the whole dang thing. Make sure to catch the next episode.